lead to the impression that we have made a decision. Madam Speaker, as I've said this before, and I want to repeat that the plenary session is unlike committees, because in the committee reports, and it's the first time I'm dealing with an impeachment without my big volume, there's always precedent that we have followed. And Eunice Gishang is here, our very good deputy clerk, and who has assisted us in the various impeachment proceedings using some sort of legal authority. Now, for purposes of legal authority, it's not like you're introducing evidence. You're introducing, this good gentleman, my learned friend for the assembly, talked about thresholds, talked about our duty, and one of them actually mentioned the word nexus. The word nexus is legal authority. So I don't think there will be any prejudice if he cited an authority with regard to impeachment proceedings, provided also that the lawyers can respond. But even then, since Mr. Nyamu is a senior lawyer, I think it's only fair, as a good example, that at the very least, those authorities should have been availed to his junior counsel, who long before, so that we avoid this idea that you're ambushing them with legal authority, because the idea of submitting authority is that your colleagues should have an opportunity of looking for counter authority. You are disadvantaging them to some extent, because they are going to comment on your authorities as opposed to producing counter authorities. But there is really no harm, because we have set precedent and there's legal authority. But the only objection, and I think in future, Madam Speaker, we're going to request these councils in future to do written submissions with the authorities in future, so that then, even for our purposes, the non-lawyers can also benefit from the wisdom of these authorities. Some of us might understand these legal authorities, but not everybody is a lawyer in this chamber. I hope, Madam Speaker, and with the wisdom of Senator Wetangula, who is our senior, and most likely more senior than anybody else except Senator Wako, I think there is reason in trying to balance it so that nobody says they were not given an opportunity. We have sat here for a whole day. I don't think the authority will take 1 hour.
Thank you, Senators. I think everybody's leaning towards let's allow them to introduce. Whoever would like to use the authorities will use them, but priority will be given again to the council, to the county assembly. Please read. I will give you 10 minutes. I better be precise now. That's going to be 10 minutes. So you read them and prepare your reactions towards those authorities at the end of their submission. Now that takes me back then to, I'll withdraw and sympathize and give you the 60 minutes that is due to you. So I will not reduce anything except a point of order from Senator Ongeri.
I want your guidance. When we allow the authorities to be quoted in this session, it will appear in Hansard. And I'm mindful of the fact that the legal counsel on both sides have the liberty to move to the higher court for further interpretation. How would the records of this House read if it's one-sided, where the authorities have been quoted and the other side has not had ample time to peruse through those authorities and give a counter proposal? Because in the interest of equity and fairness, I think it will appear, Madam Speaker, that it's only fair that when these authorities are being quoted, that the other side will have adequate time to reply, so the records in the Hansard will reflect accordingly what has transpired in this session.
Now you're attempting me to give Senator Sitswil Amos Wako. In your point of order, please respond to what Senator Ongeri has asked, because those of us who are not lawyers may not understand the way you understand.
No, first, thank you, Madam Speaker. First, it would have been good if the practice which I used to know before, practicing in the court, authorities are submitted the day before the hearing and also given to the other side so that they all prepare. But it does appear that the the advocates for the county of Nairobi have been taken unawares. Two, although they have been taken unawares, I still think that, and although we also have been taken unawares, I think the point that Senator Malala was saying, but he put it very crudely, with utmost respect, is that we have to decide tonight. In other words, we do not have the luxury of retiring 1 or 2 days, reading through the documents, the evidence and whatnot, and then coming back to vote. We have to decide tonight. And that's why we have made a very good decision for the other side to have at least 5 minutes to respond. Ordinarily, it would still be unfair, but in the circumstances of this matter, I believe I heard the advocate say that the authorities is going to court are authorities of the High Court and of the Court of Appeal of Kenya. And I believe that we have in this House people who are aware of all those authorities, so that even if he doesn't quote some authorities, we are aware of all authorities. They have passed through us, particularly those who are now serving a second term. And therefore, it may not be all that inconvenient. But what I would advise you, because of the time factor, do not quote too much. Just a small reference and you move on, so that you can shorten the time of submission. In other words, you're not a court of appeal where you're going to take 1 hour just on one authority, distinguishing this and that and so on. Be very brief on it, because time has gone. And I believe that members would want to finish and to exercise their right to vote, and we finish the matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, the most senior of the senior lawyers in the House has spoken and has almost tilted the balance again because of how it can be referred. Just for avoidance of the eventuality of one group going to court, and I think the Assembly Councillor said they would like it to be on record. Is that right? Yes, already said yeah, they would like it to be on record. I think what we need to do is just proceed, cite them, don't distribute them. The members will know where to find them. Because if we proceed, as earlier said, we could still have to carry a package of this decision, not just now, but as presidents. So my ruling now is that we rule against any distribution of any new introduction of authorities that were not introduced on time. You can cite them. They will be able to refer to them. Thank you. So please, we have no time. Let's proceed. Your 60 minutes runs from now.
Much obliged, Madam. Madam Speaker and honorable members, I wish to submit that in the first place, this honorable House has been charged by a very serious and noble responsibility by the Constitution, and none of the houses of Parliament or legislature have been bestowed with the task of dealing with the question as to whether an elected person shall continue to hold office is a very noble task and a very serious responsibility that warrants a serious and well-thought decision. Madam Speaker, a governor is elected pursuant to the exercise of democratic rights of the citizens of this country. And although a CEO, he is elected by the citizens of this country within a certain county. In this case, the county of Nairobi elected Governor Mike Sonko. Overwhelmingly, he had over 800,000 votes. And now the assembly, through the move of the motion, in exercise of powers under Article 181 and Section 33 of Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act, is now threatening to remove him from office. Madam Speaker, I would urge this Honorable House to consider the writing in the Constitution under Article 1, that is the sovereignty of the people of Kenya and supremacy of the Constitution when considering this particular matter. Madam Speaker, I would urge this House to consider the provisions of Article 259 of the Constitution, wherein it is provided that the Constitution shall be considered holistically, and no provision of the Constitution shall be looked at in isolation. Madam Speaker, it is provided, and I wish to refer the House to Article 1 on sovereignty of the people, where the people of Kenya have the power and right to exercise their democratic rights, either directly or indirectly. In this case, they've elected Governor Sonko in exercise of their democratic rights to govern themselves, but they've delegated that power to him to govern them. Madam Speaker, the governor has, as a matter of political rights envisaged under Article 38(3) of the Constitution, the right to seek election to hold a public office, and if elected, to hold that office. That power, that right, Madam Speaker, should not be interfered with. In any case, without substance. Madam Speaker, I wish to submit that these proceedings before this House were initiated at the County Assembly, Madam Speaker, under powers bestowed upon the Assembly under this Constitution. At that particular moment, the first thing is that there was a court order, Madam Speaker, which was ignored. Madam Speaker, in that regard, I wish to refer this House to the first document, that is the affidavit of the governor, marked volume 1 at page 96. Madam Speaker, you note that there was an order in force. The order was issued by Justice Murima, not Justice Nzioki wa Makau, Madam Speaker, and that order was in force. Madam Speaker, it is incumbent upon all state actors by virtue of Article 10 of the Constitution on the doctrine of the rule of the law and promotion and protection of the Constitution, to respect all the authority under the Constitution, Madam Speaker. One of the authorities, Madam Speaker, is the authority bestowed upon the judiciary under Article 159, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is provided under Article 159 of the Constitution, Madam Speaker, that judicial authority is derived from the people of Kenya and vests in and shall be exercised